Hello everyone and welcome to Literary Travels with River. Today we begin a new journey through the 7th book in the Bridgerton series. It's In His Kiss. In this series of videos, we will break down each chapter of this fascinating story, offering you a detailed and exciting summary. Remember, these videos are designed to give you a chapter-by-chapter view and do not represent the entire book. So get ready to immerse yourself in the world of the Bridgertons and discover all the secrets, romances, and adventures that It's In His Kiss has to offer. Let's get started. Prologue. In 1815, Gareth St. Clair lived by 4 principles to maintain peace with his father. Avoid unnecessary conversations, keep them brief, have witnesses present, and accept all invitations to avoid being at home. These principles had served both him and his father, Richard St. Clair, well, as they had a tense and distant relationship. Gareth, about to finish his studies at Eton, was surprised to receive a letter from his father ordering him to return to Clare Hall, their country home. His life at Eton was full of activities between studies, sports, and night outings, and he planned to continue enjoying it at Cambridge. The family home, which he had barely visited in 9 years, evoked no sense of belonging, and his future seemed free of obligations until that moment. Upon arriving at Clare Hall, Gareth was greeted by the butler, who took him to his father's study, a room he associated with reprimands and disapproval. Entering, his father, Lord St. Clair, ignored him for a while before coldly announcing that he had decided his future. Gareth was to marry Mary Winthrop, a young woman he had known since childhood but who was not in full possession of her mental faculties. Gareth, stunned and horrified, tried to resist the idea of marrying Mary, whom he saw as a child incapable of understanding marriage. His father, however, was relentless, highlighting the generous dowry Mary would bring and the need to save the family finances. The dowry would also allow Gareth to continue his studies at Cambridge, which his father used as a compelling argument to force him to accept the marriage. The tension reached its peak when Lord St. Clair, in a fit of rage, revealed to Gareth that he was not his true son, but the result of his mother's infidelity. This devastating blow left Gareth breathless, facing the reality that his life had been a lie and that he now had to find his own path without the support of his supposed father. In a final act of defiance and desperation, Gareth rejected Lord St. Clair's authority, marking the end of his innocence and the beginning of a new and unknown stage in his life. He left the study, aware that he had to forge his own destiny far from Clare Hall and his father. Chapter 1. 10 years later, we find our heroine at the annual Smythe-Smith musical evening. Hyacinth, known for her bold and biting spirit, sat next to her sister-in-law Penelope, questioning why they subjected themselves to this auditory torment. Penelope, with her usual calm, reminded her that they attended because they were good people. The Smythe-Smith musical evening was an annual tradition that both women faced with resignation. Hyacinth, with her sharp sense of humor, never missed an opportunity to comment on the lack of musical skills of the young Smythe-Smiths, while Penelope tried to maintain a positive attitude. However, the arrival of Lady Danbury, an elderly countess with a strong character, added a touch of dynamism to the evening. Lady Danbury, with her cane and frank attitude, sat between Hyacinth and Penelope, always ready to give her opinion without reservation. The conversation among the 3 women revolved around the absurd necessity of attending the event and the persuasion methods each used to drag their companions. Hyacinth, for her part, was intrigued by the presence of Lady Danbury's grandson, Gareth St. Clair, known for his bad reputation and enigmatic ways. The Countess had managed to convince Gareth to attend through a cunning guilt trip, and his presence was as surprising as it was expected. Gareth St. Clair, an attractive man with a penetrating gaze, arrived just in time to join the conversation. His entrance caused a small stir and Hyacinth, always quick with her comments, found herself in a battle of wits with him. The interaction between them was loaded with tension and humor, with Gareth being sarcastic and Hyacinth trying to maintain her composure. Gareth's arrival intensified the atmosphere of the evening, and his presence was a relief for Lady Danbury, who treated him with a mix of severity and affection. Hyacinth, observing everything closely, realized that Gareth had a peculiar influence over the Countess and couldn't help but feel intrigued by their relationship. The concert began, and the out-of-tune music of the young Smythe-Smiths filled the room. Gareth and Hyacinth shared a moment of silent desperation, united by the auditory torture they were forced to endure. Despite the discomfort, Hyacinth couldn't help but notice Gareth's imposing presence beside her, a man who radiated warmth and magnetism. As the concert progressed, Hyacinth reflected on her own situation in the marriage market. At 22 years old, she was still single, something that worried her mother, Violet Bridgerton. Compared to her sister Eloise, who married at 28, Hyacinth still had time, but the social pressure was undeniable. The Smythe-Smith musical evening, with its tedium and monotony, reminded her of the limitations of her environment, but also reinforced her determination to find her own path, away from imposed expectations. The night continued, and although the music was unbearable, the presence of Gareth and Lady Danbury's sharp jokes made the evening more bearable for Hyacinth. As she observed the young Smythe-Smiths, she reflected on her place in the world and the possibilities that the future might hold for her, always with her characteristic sense of humor and insatiable curiosity. Chapter 2. 30 minutes later, Gareth St. Clair remained seated, enduring a musical torture he only tolerated for his grandmother, the imposing Lady Danbury. Despite the cacophony that pretended to be Mozart, Haydn, or Handel, he maintained impeccable composure. Lady Danbury, for her part, morbidly enjoyed the annual Smythe-Smith event, known for its disastrous music performed by the unfortunate young women of the family. As the discordant notes filled the room, Gareth muttered a protest, only to receive a dry response from his grandmother, who stubbornly defended the tradition. Finally, the musical agony ended, and the young Smythe-Smiths rose to take their bows, the cellist with an evident air of desperation. Gareth looked at his grandmother with tenderness and resignation, recognizing her determination to support those girls who, at least, didn't have tin ears. The applause echoed in the room, more as a collective relief than genuine recognition. Hyacinth Bridgerton, with her sharp wit, handed Lady Danbury her cane, provoking a smile from Gareth. Hyacinth, with her reputation for being smarter than most, had a peculiar charm that didn't go unnoticed. As the crowd dispersed, Lady Danbury insisted that Gareth accompany Hyacinth, and he agreed, albeit with some reluctance. The conversation between Gareth and Hyacinth flowed with a mix of sarcasm and sincerity, both measuring their words and responses. Hyacinth, always curious and observant, didn't miss the opportunity to comment on the evening and its participants, showing her keen perception of details. Gareth's mind, however, wandered to darker thoughts. He remembered his tumultuous relationship with his father and his painful past. After being disowned, he found refuge with his grandmother Danbury, who welcomed and supported him unconditionally. The uncertainty about his legitimacy and his father's shadow haunted him, leaving him in a constant state of tension and expectation. As he conversed with Hyacinth, his mind returned to the present, finding unexpected relief in her company. Hyacinth, with her intelligence and frankness, challenged and amused him. Their dialogues were a game of wits, a battle of words that both enjoyed. Gareth, used to dealing with superficial people, found Hyacinth's honesty refreshing. At the end of the night, Gareth couldn't help but feel intrigued by Hyacinth. Her ability to maintain composure and her sharp wit made her stand out among the ladies of high society. However, both knew that their interaction was full of dangers and challenges. Hyacinth, aware of the fire she was playing with, couldn't help but be drawn to Gareth's intensity and mystery. As they parted, Gareth left Hyacinth with a feeling of uncertainty and excitement. Their brief encounter had left a lasting impression, and both knew their paths would cross again. For now, however, they separated, carrying with them the spark of a connection that promised to be as complicated as it was fascinating. Chapter 3. 3 days later, Gareth was in his study when his valet informed him of the unexpected visit of Caroline, his brother George's widow. After a long time without seeing her, Gareth was happy to see her and greeted her affectionately, though he immediately noticed the sadness that still engulfed Caroline since her husband's funeral. Caroline explained that while going through George's belongings, she had found a small book she thought belonged to Gareth. However, it wasn't just any book. It was a diary belonging to his father's mother, Isabella Marinzelli St. Clair, written in Italian. Caroline handed over the diary along with a note from George asking her to give it to Gareth. Emotions and confusion mixed within him as he held this family legacy, knowing he had no blood relation to Isabella but feeling equally responsible for her memories. Determined to discover the contents of the diary, Gareth thought of the right person to help him with the translation and decided that his grandmother, Lady Danbury, would be the one. She always knew whom to turn to in any situation. Meanwhile, at Lady Danbury's house, Hyacinth Bridgerton was reading aloud the week's chapter of Miss Butterworth and the Mad Baron, a particularly melodramatic novel that fascinated the Countess. Hyacinth's reading was frequently interrupted by Lady Danbury's exclamations and caustic comments, who, despite enjoying the novel's dramatizations, didn't hesitate to add her own drama to the reading sessions. The conversation quickly shifted to Hyacinth's marital situation, with Lady Danbury urging her to find a husband. The elderly Countess couldn't resist mentioning her grandson Gareth, suggesting he would be a good match. Hyacinth, although amusingly uncomfortable, refuted the idea, assuring that Gareth had no interest in marrying a young woman of her class. However, the conversation remained light, with Hyacinth and Lady Danbury exchanging jokes and sarcastic remarks. Just then, Gareth arrived at the house, unexpectedly interrupting the conversation. Lady Danbury, delighted to see her grandson, didn't miss the opportunity to joke about his memory, while Gareth defended himself with wit. Hyacinth, for her part, couldn't help but notice how handsome Gareth looked under the sunlight streaming through the window, reflecting his golden hair. After a series of jokes and comments about his visits, Gareth showed his grandmother the Italian diary. Lady Danbury's surprise was evident, but she quickly took control of the situation. Without wasting time, she began speculating about who could translate the diary, while Hyacinth watched with curiosity. Gareth, determined to solve the diary's mystery, asked Hyacinth to help him find someone who could translate it. Hyacinth, always up for a challenge, accepted the task, albeit with some reluctance. The conversation continued in a light tone, but the underlying tension between Gareth and Hyacinth was palpable, as if both knew that this little book could change their lives in unexpected ways. Chapter 4. Hyacinth Bridgerton was at Lady Danbury's house, reading aloud one of the chapters from the melodramatic book the elderly Countess so enjoyed. The reading was interrupted when Gareth St. Clair, Lady Danbury's grandson, unexpectedly entered the room, carrying a small leather-bound book. The atmosphere immediately tensed, as Gareth seemed unsure whether to mention the reason for his visit in Hyacinth's presence. Finally, he decided to speak and explain to his grandmother that the book was a diary of Isabella Marinzelli St. Clair, found among his brother George's belongings and written in Italian. Lady Danbury, not knowing of any suitable translator, grew impatient. At that moment, Hyacinth intervened, revealing that she had an Italian governess in her childhood and could help with the translation. Gareth, somewhat skeptical, handed over the diary. Hyacinth, although a bit unsure, began reading softly, realizing that Gareth's grandmother had written about her upcoming wedding and her unhappiness about it. Lady Danbury suggested that Hyacinth take the diary home to translate it more calmly, reminding Gareth that he would accompany her to Lady Plinesworth's poetry recital the following night, where they could discuss the translation progress. The conversation turned slightly tense and sarcastic, with Hyacinth feeling irritated by Gareth's dismissive attitude. However, she accepted the task of taking the diary, and both bid each other a cordial farewell. Gareth accompanied her to the door, where an exchange of looks and words hinted at a growing tension between them. Upon arriving home, Hyacinth found her mother, Violet Bridgerton, eagerly waiting to tell her about Charlotte Stokehurst's recent engagement. Violet, always concerned about her youngest daughter's marital future, began questioning her about her efforts to find a husband. The conversation quickly turned into a deep analysis of Hyacinth's love life, with Violet expressing her fears that her daughter might never find a suitable man because of her tendency to avoid those who could challenge her. Hyacinth, though initially annoyed, listened attentively to her mother's story about her own birth and the deep connection she felt with her since that moment. Violet confessed that Hyacinth had saved her from despair after her husband's death, and that she always wanted to protect her free and confident spirit. The conversation left Hyacinth reflecting on her own insecurities and tendency to flee from situations that made her uncomfortable. Despite her initial resistance, she promised her mother that she would think about what she had said, leaving open the possibility of reevaluating her approach to love and marriage. Chapter 5. Gareth St. Clair headed straight for Hyacinth Bridgerton as soon as he entered Lady Plinesworth's parlor. Sitting next to her, he joked about how everyone would think he was courting her. Hyacinth, always quick-witted, replied that she would prefer not to be courted by someone who, according to him, would improve his reputation just by being seen with her. As they exchanged sharp comments, Gareth noticed something peculiar in the parlor. A little girl dressed as a shepherdess with a horn on her head and the piano decorated with tree branches. Hyacinth explained that there had been an unexpected change in the program and that instead of a poetry recital, it was an original play by Harriet Plinesworth, titled The Shepherdess, the Unicorn, and Henry VIII. Gareth, resigned to endure what would surely be an embarrassing spectacle, braced himself for the worst. The conversation between Hyacinth and Gareth flowed naturally, full of wit and sarcasm. Hyacinth mentioned that she had started reading the diary of Gareth's grandmother, discovering that Isabella Marinsley St. Clair was not happy with her marriage. Gareth, surprised and amused by Hyacinth's frankness, urged her to keep translating. The performance began and, as Hyacinth had warned, it turned out to be a confusing mix of characters and absurd situations, including Henry VIII riding the unicorn. Despite the ridiculousness of the situation, Gareth and Hyacinth found a moment of camaraderie, sharing laughter and sarcastic comments. At the end of the performance, Lady Plinesworth approached to introduce her daughters, including Harriet, the shepherdess. Gareth, though wishing to avoid the introduction, was trapped by Lady Plinesworth's insistence and Hyacinth's cunning. With no other choice, he prepared to meet the little actress, with Hyacinth enjoying every moment of his discomfort. As they said their goodbyes, Lady Danbury and Violet Bridgerton approached. Lady Danbury, with her typical bluntness, urged Gareth to attend the Bridgerton ball the following week. Hyacinth, feeling her mother was being too obvious in her intentions to pair her with Gareth, tried to downplay the situation, but Gareth, with his skill in handling social situations, promised to attend. Throughout the night, Gareth couldn't stop thinking about Hyacinth. Her intelligence, wit, and undeniable charm intrigued him more than he was willing to admit. As he walked away, the image of Hyacinth, with her laughter and vibrant presence, remained etched in his mind. Chapter 6. The Bridgerton ballroom was resplendent that night, with chandeliers lit and music floating in the air, creating a perfect atmosphere for romance. However, Hyacinth Bridgerton didn't seem to enjoy the evening as much. She was chatting with her best friend, Felicity Albansdale, who, to her surprise, suggested that she should marry Gareth St. Clair. Hyacinth was stunned, feeling a mix of incredulity and alarm. Though she had considered the possibility, she wasn't ready to admit it, not even to her closest friend. Felicity, always observant, noticed the connection between Hyacinth and Gareth and encouraged her to explore it. Hyacinth, however, protested, claiming that she barely knew the man and had no intention of marrying him. Despite her protests, Hyacinth couldn't help but glance at Gareth, who was on the other side of the room, dancing with Jane Hotchkiss. Felicity, in her frank manner, pointed out that Gareth was one of the few men who could match her, leaving Hyacinth feeling uncertain about how the world viewed her. The conversation was abruptly interrupted when Felicity pointed out the presence of Lord St. Clair, Gareth's father, in the ballroom. Hyacinth knew about the tense relationship between father and son and decided to intervene to avoid a possible confrontation. With renewed determination, she headed towards Gareth, intent on asking him to dance and keeping him occupied. As she approached, Gareth, who had been looking for Hyacinth since he arrived, turned around, surprised to see her. Hyacinth, with a mix of determination and nervousness, invited him to dance, surprising both Gareth and herself. He gladly accepted and led her to the dance floor. As they danced, Hyacinth, clumsy in her movements, tried to talk about Gareth's grandmother's diary. Although he enjoyed the conversation, he couldn't help but notice Hyacinth's lack of skill in dancing. However, instead of mocking her, he helped her relax and find the rhythm. They talked about the diary translations, and Hyacinth mentioned that she had made considerable progress, though with difficulty due to the complexities of the language. While they conversed, Gareth began to see Hyacinth in a new light. Her genuine smiles and determination captivated him. Despite her clumsiness in dancing, there was something about her that made her special, something that went beyond her sharp wit and beauty. When the waltz ended, they decided to find a quiet place to continue their conversation about the diary. They headed to a secluded corner of the ballroom where they could talk without interruptions. Gareth, with Hyacinth's arm tucked into the crook of his elbow, guided her firmly, feeling that perhaps there was something deeper between them worth exploring. As they walked away from the dance floor, Hyacinth felt a slight tremor of excitement. She didn't know exactly what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt hopeful. Chapter 7. Gareth St. Clair had never been enthusiastic about crowded balls. The heat, the throng of people, and the trivial conversations with uninteresting individuals seemed a nuisance. But that night at the Bridgerton house, things were different. After dancing with Hyacinth, he accompanied her to a corner of the ballroom where they discussed his grandmother Isabella's diary. Hyacinth had made notable progress in the translation, recounting how Isabella had arrived in England under inauspicious circumstances, slipping in the mud when disembarking in Dover. Her husband hadn't bothered to help her, reflecting the difficult relationship from the start of their marriage. Despite enjoying the conversation with Hyacinth, Gareth knew they couldn't stay alone for long without causing gossip. So once they finished talking, he escorted her to her next dance partner and bid her goodbye. With his objectives fulfilled, he decided it was time to leave. He considered going to his club or even visiting his lover, Maria, an Italian soprano with whom he had an open relationship. But before leaving, he decided to stop by the gentleman's restroom. While waiting in the lobby, he came face to face with his father, Lord St. Clair. The tension between them was palpable. Despite Gareth's attempts to stay calm, his father's provocations always managed to enrage him. Lord St. Clair wasted no time belittling him, insinuating that he would never be accepted by the Bridgertons, and mocking his interest in Hyacinth. Gareth struggled not to fall for the provocations, but when his father mentioned his brother George, fury overtook him, and he ended up cornering his father against the wall. The confrontation left him emotionally exhausted, reminding him how much his father's disapproval still affected him. Finally, he managed to break free from the confrontation, but his father's words kept resonating in his mind. "You'll never have her. You'll never be worthy of her." As he exited the restroom, he encountered Hyacinth in the lobby. The candlelight highlighted the reddish tones in her hair and the beauty of her midnight blue dress. Despite his emotional state, Gareth felt an uncontrollable attraction towards her. Concerned, Hyacinth asked if he was all right, mentioning that she had seen his father leave and laugh oddly. In a desperate impulse, Gareth embraced and kissed her passionately, setting aside all gentleness. The need to prove something, both to himself and his father, consumed him. Although Hyacinth initially responded to the kiss, she soon pulled away, clearly confused and affected. Without saying a word, she fled the lobby, leaving Gareth alone, facing a storm of emotions and the harsh reality of his actions. Chapter 8. The next morning, Hyacinth Bridgerton sat on her bed, surrounded by pillows. Gareth's grandmother's Italian diary lay beside her, but she hadn't touched the book all day. Her mind was entirely occupied with reliving the kiss she shared with Gareth St. Clair. She had replayed it mentally over and over, up to 42 times, with every detail vivid in her memory. Hyacinth wished to be the type of woman who could kiss a man and then behave as if nothing had happened. She wanted to be able to look at Gareth with disdain and elegance, showing no weakness. In her imagination, she had achieved this with aplomb. But reality had not been so sweet. When Gareth called her name and tried to kiss her again, her first impulse was to flee. She felt disappointed in herself for that reaction. After all, she was Hyacinth Bridgerton, a strong and determined woman. She couldn't let a simple kiss turn her into a foolish, senseless girl. Besides, the kiss hadn't been unpleasant. In fact, it was quite enjoyable. But what bothered her most was Gareth's reaction, suggesting that she needed to improve. Hyacinth felt rejected, as no man had tried to kiss her until that night. At 22 years old and in her 4th season, she had hoped at least someone would show interest in her. But Gareth, with his suave manners and reputation as a libertine, had been the first to do so. The intensity with which Gareth had looked at her made her shiver. He seemed possessed, as if he wanted to devour her. However, Hyacinth couldn't shake the impression that Gareth hadn't intended to kiss her specifically, but that any other woman in the lobby would have served just as well. Feeling vulnerable and emotionally affected, Hyacinth decided she needed to regain her sense of control. She looked at Isabella's diary and decided to continue the translation. But as she progressed in the reading, she stumbled upon a mystery. Isabella mentioned a bambino, and Hyacinth discovered that several years of notes were missing. The young lady realized that Isabella had hidden jewels in the St. Clair house in London, a secret she never revealed to her husband. Hyacinth's excitement grew as she realized those jewels might still be hidden in the house. She was determined to find the jewels and help Gareth solve his financial problems. However, she knew she would need Gareth's help to carry out this search. The next day, Gareth arrived at Hyacinth's house, full of nervousness and doubts. He didn't know how to face her after the kiss. Hyacinth greeted him enthusiastically and led him to a private parlor. She explained about the jewels and her plan to find them. Although Gareth initially hesitated to take her with him, Hyacinth convinced him that her knowledge of Italian was crucial for the search. Finally, Gareth agreed to take Hyacinth to the St. Clair house in London on Monday night. Hyacinth was excited and ready for the adventure, determined to prove her worth and regain her lost dignity. Chapter 9. It was Monday night and Gareth, our hero, was walking stealthily towards the back of Hyacinth's house. He reflected on the sensibility of his decision, considering the many reasons that questioned his sanity. It was past midnight, and they were completely alone, about to break into the Baron's house to commit a theft. He couldn't stop thinking about how he had been convinced to take a decent young lady and expose her to the dangers of the night, knowing that if they were discovered, the Bridgertons would force him to marry Hyacinth. However, the opportunity to take the jewels right under his father's nose was irresistible. He reached the service entrance of Hyacinth's house, where she waited dressed all in black, as he had ordered. She wore trousers and a vest, something that completely surprised him. Hyacinth, interpreting his silence, explained that men's clothing seemed more practical than a black dress. Gareth couldn't help but admire how the trousers hugged her body, highlighting her curves in a way he preferred not to have seen. Hyacinth proved to be a natural athlete, climbing the wall and entering through the window in a matter of seconds. Gareth quickly followed, admiring her skill. Inside the St. Clair house, Gareth remembered the layout of the rooms and directed Hyacinth to the Baroness's study, where he believed they would find the jewels. Silently, they climbed the main staircase, avoiding the creaky steps. In the study, Hyacinth examined a peculiar piece of furniture that seemed to be where Isabella had hidden the jewels. After several maneuvers, they found a secret compartment containing a note from Isabella, likely another clue to finding the jewels. While investigating, they heard footsteps in the hallway. They quickly hid in a built-in wardrobe full of clothes, with Gareth shielding Hyacinth with his body. The footsteps approached, and the doorknob turned, but miraculously, the door closed without them being discovered. They both waited in silence until they were sure the danger had passed. Then, they stealthily exited the house and ran through the streets of Mayfair. Hyacinth was euphoric from the adventure, while Gareth tried to maintain composure. Upon reaching Hyacinth's house, she expressed her excitement, while Gareth worried about the recklessness of their act. Hyacinth, however, was delighted with the experience and managed to infect Gareth with her enthusiasm. Despite the tension and danger, they shared a moment of complicity and adventure. The night had been a success, and Hyacinth had proven to be more than just a companion in the quest for the jewels. Chapter 10. Hyacinth woke up in an excellent mood, although her mother commented on it so many times during breakfast that Hyacinth had to retreat to her bedroom to escape her observations. Violet Bridgerton was very perceptive and could guess that her daughter was falling in love even before Hyacinth admitted it herself. In her bedroom, Hyacinth focused on translating a note found in the green study, which she believed contained clues about the diamonds. Although the translation wasn't complete, it was enough to justify another search attempt. She was almost certain that the next clue was in the library, probably in a book related to physics, given the underlined words in the note, water and things that move. As Hyacinth reflected on her translation, she thought of Gareth and smiled, remembering the previous night. Something special had happened between them, though she wasn't sure what she felt yet. However, it was clear that Gareth respected her intelligence, something uncommon among the men in her social circle. As the morning progressed, Hyacinth grew anxious waiting for Gareth's visit, who had promised to help with the translation. However, her brother Gregory surprised her in the hallway, making sarcastic comments about her agitation and her encounters with Gareth. Despite his teasing, Gregory showed a genuine interest in protecting his sister. Later, Gareth arrived at the Bridgerton house, where he was received by Violet and Gregory. The atmosphere turned lively and somewhat chaotic with the family interactions. Hyacinth, trying to maintain composure, felt uncomfortable with her brother's comments and her mother's presence, but focused on her goal of sharing her translation progress with Gareth. During tea, the conversation drifted towards trivial topics, though Hyacinth seized a moment of distraction to suggest a walk, which Gareth gladly accepted. As Hyacinth prepared to leave, Gregory tried to join them but was dissuaded by their mother. Finally, Hyacinth and Gareth set out for their walk, ready to continue their search for the diamonds. The promise of adventure and the budding feelings between them added a special spark to their relationship as they embarked on this intriguing mission. Chapter 11. 15 minutes later, Hyacinth had no suspicion that her life was about to change. As they stepped onto the sidewalk in front of the house, Gareth asked if her maid was discreet. Hyacinth, assuring him that Francis would not come too close thanks to a pact sealed with peppermint candies, told him not to worry. As they walked, Hyacinth told Gareth that she had managed to translate most of the note, enough to deduce that the library was the next place to investigate. Gareth, amused, remarked that Isabella had chosen well since his paternal grandfather, though not a reader, maintained a library for appearances. Hyacinth, thinking the search would take all night, felt dizzy noticing Gareth's compassionate smile, but quickly composed herself. They discussed the possibility of finding another clue instead of the diamonds directly, speculating that it might be in a scientific book. Gareth praised Hyacinth's effort, surprising the young woman. Hyacinth reflected on how the diary search had changed her life, giving her a new perspective and purpose. As they talked, the topic of Hyacinth's large and loving family came up. Gareth, visibly affected, expressed that he would give anything to have more people in his life to sacrifice for. Hyacinth, moved, understood the depth of his loneliness and realized that she wanted to marry him. The walk was interrupted by the appearance of Gareth's father. The tension between them was palpable, with Gareth trying to maintain composure while Lord St. Clair attempted to intimidate Hyacinth. The conversation was abstract and tense, with insinuations that Hyacinth could not fully understand. Finally, Gareth decided to leave, and as they walked away, Hyacinth asked about the reason for Gareth's hatred towards his father. Though he did not answer, the intensity of his emotions was evident. The chapter ends with Hyacinth reflecting on Gareth's complicated relationship with his father and the deep loneliness he feels. Chapter 12. 20 minutes later, after a long and silent walk, Gareth was reflecting, annoyed with himself. It was extraordinary how an encounter with the Baron could ruin a perfect day. It wasn't just the Baron that disturbed him. It was the way a conversation with him transformed him into a juvenile version of himself. He would get angry, explode, and say things just to provoke. It was rude and immature, and he didn't know how to avoid it. And this time it had happened in front of Hyacinth. He had accompanied her home in silence, aware that she wanted to talk. Although Hyacinth always wished to talk, this time she understood the need for silence. Once at her house's door, Gareth apologized for the scene in the park. Hyacinth seriously invited him in, which he accepted, knowing he couldn't refuse such a sincere invitation. Once inside, Hyacinth closed the door and confessed that although she had always wished for a father, she no longer wanted one. Gareth remained silent, feeling a deep pain comparing his situation to hers. Hyacinth continued, explaining how she had envied those who had fathers but now understood that it was better not to have one than to have one like Gareth's. Gareth was disarmed by Hyacinth's understanding. She spoke about memories of her father and how he would have loved her unconditionally. Amid her sadness, Hyacinth admitted that sometimes it was difficult to love her. Gareth, however, could only think that it would be quite easy to love Hyacinth. Hyacinth began listing her faults, which made Gareth laugh. He approached and asked her to be quiet, and surprisingly, she obeyed. He kissed her, softly and tenderly, feeling Hyacinth's passionate response. As the kiss intensified, Gareth allowed himself more liberties, savoring their mutual desire. Then he stopped and pulled away, aware that certain decisions required a clear mind. He decided he must marry Hyacinth. It was an unexpected thought, but increasingly clear. He liked Hyacinth and knew he would want to dishonor her if they continued this way. Besides, marrying her would be a victory over the Baron. But he knew he had to do things right. He bid farewell to Hyacinth, promising her that she would soon understand his intentions. An hour later, he was in the Bridgerton house's lobby, prepared to ask for Hyacinth's hand. Viscount Bridgerton received him in his study, a gesture Gareth considered promising. Anthony Bridgerton, though initially surprised, accepted Gareth's proposal with enthusiasm, toasting with aged brandy. However, he warned Gareth about Hyacinth's unique qualities and the importance of making her happy. Anthony made it clear that he would protect his sister at all costs. Gareth realized the seriousness of the situation and Anthony's loyalty to his sister. He understood that marrying Hyacinth would mean facing possible problems with the Baron. But it also meant gaining a new family. Gareth left the study with renewed determination. He knew he had to marry Hyacinth quickly and secure the marriage by compromising her if necessary. Although he disliked feeling cornered, the idea of seducing Hyacinth seemed pure and pleasant. Chapter 13. Only an hour had passed since we last saw Hyacinth, who was at Lady Danbury's house, reading aloud for the elderly woman. However, Hyacinth couldn't maintain focus, as Lady Danbury constantly interrupted her, this time complaining that she was reading too softly. The conversation between the two women became comical and filled with small confrontations, highlighting Hyacinth's wit and spirit against Lady Danbury's stubbornness and peculiarity. As they tried to continue reading Miss Butterworth and the Mad Baron, Hyacinth couldn't help but think about Gareth, especially after the kiss they shared. Her thoughts distracted her, leading her to reflect on her feelings, causing a mix of confusion and longing. The scene became even more interesting when Gareth unexpectedly arrived at his grandmother's house to see Hyacinth. Gareth's arrival caused a stir, and Lady Danbury insisted on staying in the room while he spoke with Hyacinth. However, Gareth, determined and romantic, knelt before Hyacinth and asked her to marry him. Hyacinth's surprise and excitement were evident, and though she was overwhelmed by the situation, she accepted the proposal. Lady Danbury, always astute and manipulative, finally left the room to give them some privacy, though not without making it clear that she would keep an eye on them. The chemistry between Gareth and Hyacinth was palpable as he seduced her gently, highlighting her beauty and unique personality. Gareth was affectionate and passionate, and Hyacinth, though nervous, responded to his tenderness. In the end, after Gareth left, Hyacinth was left alone with her thoughts, reflecting on what had just happened. Lady Danbury quickly returned, curious to know what Gareth had said, and though Hyacinth lied about the true reason for his proposal, the old lady's satisfaction and enthusiasm were clear. This chapter highlights the deep connection and growing love between Hyacinth and Gareth, framed by the humor and warmth of the interaction with Lady Danbury. The mix of romance, comedy, and tenderness keeps the reader thoroughly engaged in the plot. Chapter 14. 2 weeks have passed, and all of London is aware of the upcoming marriage between Hyacinth and Gareth. While he enjoys his new position as an honorary member of the Bridgerton family, he can't shake the fear that it could all fall apart at any moment. It's midnight, and Gareth stands under Hyacinth's bedroom window, ready to execute his plan. Gareth had everything perfectly planned, determined to seduce Hyacinth that very night. He had mentally rehearsed every detail, feeling a mix of pleasure and premeditation. Though he felt some pangs of remorse, he justified it by thinking they would be married and no one else would know. They were supposed to go to the St. Clair house that night to continue the search for the jewels. Hyacinth had wanted to go earlier, but Gareth had made excuses to delay the visit, ensuring it would be safer to go when there was less risk of being discovered. That night seemed perfect since his father would be at a ball, and Hyacinth was already prepared thanks to Gareth. During those 2 weeks, Gareth had enjoyed numerous social activities with Hyacinth, from parties to operas. Although he sometimes found her maddening, Hyacinth was always pleasant and entertaining. Gareth was convinced she would make an excellent wife, but first, he had to ensure she couldn't back out. Hyacinth, meanwhile, climbed the stairs to her bedroom, remembering how she had managed to return early from the Mottram ball, pretending to have a headache. Everything seemed to be going perfectly, giving her enough time to change and wait for Gareth. However, upon reaching her room, she found Gareth lying on her bed, surprising her. He had climbed the wall to get in and was waiting for her with a smile. Although Hyacinth felt nervous and flushed, Gareth reassured her with his closeness and whispered in her ear. They began kissing passionately as Gareth caressed her, slowly leading her into a state of desire. Hyacinth experienced a mix of nervousness and excitement as Gareth undressed and caressed her. Gareth's kisses and touches made her feel a wave of unknown sensations. Finally, Gareth lifted her and laid her on the bed, continuing his gentle torture of kisses and caresses. With a blend of tenderness and passion, Gareth began to make love to her, ensuring she enjoyed every moment. Hyacinth, although nervous at first, soon gave herself completely to the sensations, feeling the pleasure he provoked in her. After making love, Hyacinth and Gareth shared a moment of laughter and complicity, demonstrating how comfortable they were with each other. However, Hyacinth suddenly remembered the jewels and their mission for that night. Despite Gareth's exhaustion, she was determined to continue with the plan and asked him to get ready to leave. Hyacinth, full of energy, dressed in men's black clothing, ready for the adventure. Though Gareth was exhausted, he couldn't help but smile at Hyacinth's enthusiasm. Together, they prepared to leave and continue their search, once again showing the strength of their connection and adventurous spirit. Chapter 15. They were already in the St. Clair House library. The journey through Mayfair had been uneventful, except for Hyacinth's energy and enthusiasm in contrast to Gareth's lack of both. Hyacinth, with her eyes fixed on the shelves full of books, asked if Gareth saw anything. He, standing on a stool, only saw more books. She patiently asked him to look for scientific books, but the collection seemed chaotic. Hyacinth examined titles ranging from novels and philosophy to manuals on pig care. Gareth threw her a book titled Miss Davenport and the Dark Marquis, by the same author of Miss Butterworth, which made them share a moment of surprise and humor. Hyacinth, still focused on her task, remembered they were looking for Discorso intorno alle cose che stanno in su l'acqua by Galileo Galilei. Gareth, although not fond of science, helped in the search. Hyacinth found the library in disarray due to a prank Gareth had played years ago, complicating the task. Despite the chaos, Gareth remembered a section with books in Italian. Upon finding it, Hyacinth inspected the titles with his help. Finally, she found the right book, and inside, a note they couldn't understand. They considered asking Colin, Hyacinth's brother, for help in identifying the language of the note. After gathering the book and ensuring everything was in order, they prepared to leave the house without being seen. Gareth led the way, making sure the butler wasn't nearby. Once outside, they walked down an alley towards Dover Street, trying to avoid being seen. Suddenly, Gareth heard his father's voice, forcing them to hide. Gareth went out to confront him, while Hyacinth remained hidden. The conversation was tense, filled with provocations and insinuations. The Baron mocked Gareth, questioning his relationship with Hyacinth and suggesting he had seduced her to secure the engagement. Gareth, enraged, pushed the Baron against the wall but then controlled himself and walked away. The Baron insinuated that Gareth was still engaged to Mary Winthrop, an arrangement the Baron had made on his behalf. Gareth, surprised and confused, realized that Hyacinth had heard everything. He ran to the place where he had left her hidden, only to discover that Hyacinth was no longer there. Chapter 16. Gareth remains in the alley, staring at the spot where Hyacinth should have been waiting for him. He never wants to feel this way again. His heart stops. Where could Hyacinth be? Although the area is elegant and safe, there are still dangers. However, he hasn't heard anything suggesting an attack. That can only mean she heard the conversation with the Baron about Mary Winthrop and fled. Frustrated and worried, Gareth decides to try the most direct route to Hyacinth's house, hoping her impulse led her along the shortest path. He runs down Berkeley Street, watching every intersection, but sees nothing. He searches desperately, knowing he must reach her before something happens. Finally, as he turns a corner, he sees her running toward her house's back door. Renewed energy drives him to increase his speed, determined to catch her before she enters. But Hyacinth reaches the door, which wasn't locked, and slips inside just as he reaches the entrance. She shuts the door in his face and turns the key, leaving him outside. Determined to confront her, Gareth climbs the wall to her bedroom window, left open from his last visit. He enters quietly just as she steps into the room. The tension is palpable as he demands an explanation. Hyacinth, furious, orders him to leave, but Gareth stands firm, demanding her promise not to repeat her reckless escape. The argument intensifies, both overwhelmed by anger and pain. Hyacinth accuses Gareth of manipulating her to secure the engagement, while he struggles to explain his true motives. Words become hurtful, and Hyacinth reveals her deep resentment, believing Gareth sees her as a means to defy his father, the Baron. Gareth, confronted with the truth of his feelings and actions, desperately tries to clarify his intentions. But Hyacinth's wounds are deep, and she accuses him of always acting in reaction to his father, not out of love for her. In a painful moment of silence, both realize the gap that separates them. Finally, Hyacinth, visibly hurt and sad, asks him to leave. Gareth, feeling the gravity of his mistake and the impact of his actions, nods and exits through the window. At the last moment, Hyacinth mentions Mary Winthrop, trying to show she still believes in a possible resolution. But Gareth, aware of the damage caused, can only promise they will talk later. Gareth steps into the garden, feeling the weight of his failure. He looks toward the window, hoping to see a sign from Hyacinth, but finds only darkness. Sadness overwhelms him, aware that he has lost her, at least for now. Chapter 17. At number 5, Hyacinth and her mother, Violet. Share tea time in the parlor. Violet, with typical maternal curiosity, asks about Mr. St. Clair's whereabouts, prompting Hyacinth to lie about his supposed occupation in Wiltshire. With suspicion lingering in the air, Hyacinth immerses herself in her embroidery, using the activity to distract from the conversation. As the words flow between mother and daughter, Hyacinth's internal tension grows. 3 days ago, she discovered a bitter truth. Gareth, her fiancé, had used her in his endless dispute with his father. This discovery had undermined her confidence, leaving her filled with doubt and insecurity. Although she was deeply in love with Gareth, the feeling of having been a pawn in his game consumed her. Violet, sensing her daughter's unease, tries to bring the truth to the surface. But Hyacinth, trapped between love and betrayal, can't open up. Inside, she struggles with the dilemma of her engagement, to continue or break it off. The love she feels for Gareth is genuine, but the motivation behind his proposal has left her hurt and confused. As Violet tries to console Hyacinth, suggesting they share their feelings, Hyacinth faces a revelation. Her destiny and happiness depend on another. This realization fills her with a mix of anger and resignation. Her mother's suggestion to write a letter to Gareth seems like an escape, but Hyacinth knows she must be bolder. In an attempt to find clarity, Hyacinth contemplates the nature of her relationship with Gareth and her ability to help him overcome his own demons. Violet, with her maternal wisdom, offers practical and humorous advice. If words don't work, a good book might be the solution. Ultimately, Hyacinth understands that true love involves accepting and helping the other overcome their inner struggles. With renewed determination, she decides to face the situation head-on, willing to confront the lion in his den, showing a courage and resolve that only true love can inspire. Chapter 18. That same afternoon, Gareth, immersed in his thoughts, reflects on the need for a grand gesture to win back Hyacinth. However, his financial limitations and aversion to public displays torment him. In his small office, Hyacinth's unexpected visit surprises and makes him nervous, especially knowing she has come alone, unbothered by her reputation. Upon meeting, Hyacinth, with a disturbing calm, informs him that she hasn't come to discuss his father, but the lost jewels of Isabella. She reveals that she has taken the note written in an unknown language to her brother Colin, who suggested it might be Slovenian. Gareth, surprised by his ignorance of Slovenia's existence, accepts Hyacinth's logic that Isabella would have used an unknown language to conceal her final clue. Hyacinth and Gareth debate the possibility that the jewels are hidden in Gareth's grandfather's bedroom, given the privacy of that place. As they discuss, the conversation takes a more personal turn. Hyacinth, unable to hide her distress, finally confronts Gareth about the reasons behind his marriage proposal. In the face of her desperation and sincerity, Gareth decides to confess a secret he has kept for years. The Baron is not his real father. Hyacinth's reaction is one of relief, as she does not want their future children to carry Lord St. Clair's blood. This unconditional acceptance of his deepest secret moves Gareth. Hyacinth, showing admirable strength and serenity, encourages him not to worry about the Baron's opinion, as revealing the secret would only harm the Baron's reputation. The atmosphere between them becomes more intimate, and Gareth, in an attempt to express his love and appreciation, shows her a drawing he made of her, with a diamond bracelet reminiscent of a story told by his grandmother Isabella. This gesture deeply moves Hyacinth, reaffirming her love for him. Determined not to give up on the search for the jewels, Hyacinth insists on continuing, though Gareth tries to dissuade her. Finally, Gareth relents, but on the condition of going alone to the St. Clair house to search for the jewels, leaving Hyacinth unhappy but resigned. Their conversation ends on a playful and affectionate note, as they both accept the peculiarities and challenges their relationship presents. Chapter 19. On a Tuesday, Hyacinth arrives at Lady Danbury's house with a smile and a new book in hand, Miss Davenport and the Dark Marquis. The Countess, majestically seated in her chair, brightens up at the sight of the new novel, hoping it will be as entertaining as the previous ones. As they prepare to read, they realize they still have 3 chapters left of their current novel, Miss Butterworth and the Mad Baron, prompting laughter and comments about the potential dramatic twists still to come. The conversation shifts to the diary of Isabella, Gareth's grandmother, which Hyacinth is translating from Italian. Lady Danbury, closing her eyes and settling in for a nap, asks Hyacinth to read to her in Italian, enjoying the melodious sound of the language, even if she doesn't understand the words. Hyacinth agrees, although she finds it difficult to translate while reading. As Hyacinth continues with the reading, she delves into the diary entries, especially one revealing Isabella's disappointment with her son and her husband's indifferent treatment. This revelation resonates deeply with Hyacinth, reminding her of the importance of choosing a good life partner. Lady Danbury quickly falls asleep, much to Hyacinth's surprise, who takes advantage of the moment to skip ahead in the diary, searching for clues about Gareth's conception. She finds an entry from June 1796 suggesting Gareth's father was absent during a critical period, leaving open the possibility that Gareth is not the Baron's son. When Lady Danbury wakes up, Hyacinth struggles to maintain her composure and resumes reading their usual novel. However, her mind remains occupied with the diary's revelations. Finally, she apologizes and cuts the visit short, eager to continue her investigation. Lady Danbury, showing surprising flexibility, gives her blessing for her to leave, and Hyacinth, filled with gratitude and affection, kisses her on the cheek, recognizing her as a grandmother at heart. Lady Danbury, moved, reveals she has always felt the same way. Chapter 20. It's Tuesday night, and after a long dinner and a tedious game of charades with her family, Hyacinth finally finds a moment to continue translating Isabella's diary. However, her impatience leads her to visit Gareth late at night. Gareth, preparing for a nocturnal visit to the St. Clair house, is surprised to hear a knock at the door almost at midnight. When he opens it, he finds Hyacinth, who has arrived alone and without an escort, which infuriates him deeply. He drags her to the bedroom, worried about the possibility of being discovered. In his fury, Gareth orders her to stay still and quiet, trying to decide what to do with her. Hyacinth, though surprised by Gareth's reaction, is not intimidated and sits obediently on the bed. Gareth, frustrated, tries to impose strict rules for when they are married, but the conversation takes an unexpected turn when, in a fit of desperation, Gareth confesses that he loves her. Hyacinth, initially stunned, approaches him and responds with love, confirming her own feelings. The tender moment is interrupted when Hyacinth insists she has something important to tell him. Despite Gareth's attempts to avoid the conversation, she reveals she has discovered the identity of his true father, Edward, the Baron's brother. This revelation shakes Gareth, who struggles to assimilate the information. Gareth feels overwhelmed by the truth, but Hyacinth, with her love and understanding, helps him see that their future together is what truly matters. Finally, they embrace, and Gareth expresses his love for her again. The chapter concludes with Hyacinth proposing one last excursion to the St. Clair house that very night. Although initially reluctant, Gareth gives in to her enthusiasm and determination, and together they prepare for the nocturnal adventure, hoping to find Isabella's hidden jewels. Chapter 21. Half an hour later, Hyacinth, hands on her hips, surveys the Baroness's bedroom. After an exhaustive search, the jewels are nowhere to be found. Defeat, something foreign to her character, becomes evident for the first time. Gareth, crouched by the bed, notices her discouragement and asks if she's giving up, showing a slight disappointment. He had already suspected they wouldn't find anything, and she loves him more for having tried for her. Gareth, aware of the Baron's monthly meeting that could interrupt them, remembers they must leave soon. Hyacinth, accepting defeat, decides it's time to return home and face her mother to change the wedding date. As they leave the St. Clair house, Hyacinth stops abruptly, seeing the Baron at the entrance. The Baron, clearly curious, mocks them for being there at midnight. Gareth, protectively, says they just went out for a walk. Hyacinth's questioning look prompts him to reveal the truth. Isabella's diary has revealed that his true father is Uncle Edward. The Baron, stunned, barely reacts and enters the house with a derogatory comment about Hyacinth's dowry. Hyacinth, indignant at the Baron's reaction, is surprised to see Gareth laughing. For the first time, he feels an inner peace, realizing that the battle with the Baron no longer matters to him. Gareth's happiness overflows, and Hyacinth, relieved, embraces him. In a burst of love, Gareth kneels in the street and asks Hyacinth to marry him for the right reasons. He declares his deep love, wanting to share his life with her. Excited, Hyacinth accepts with tears in her eyes, and they embrace, ready to face their future together. Epilogue. A few days after the final events, Gareth visited Lord Rudham and confirmed that the previous engagement was not binding. Lord Rudham accepted Lady Bridgerton's promise to take care of his younger daughters. Lady Bridgerton, however, made it clear to Gareth that her youngest daughter would not marry hastily. So, 2 months later, Gareth and Hyacinth were married in an elegant ceremony at St. George's Church in London. 11 months later, Hyacinth gave birth to a son, George. 2 years later, their daughter Isabella was born. 4 years later, Lord St. Clair died in a hunting accident, and Gareth inherited the title, and the family moved to the St. Clair house in the city. Despite the years, Hyacinth continued to search for the family jewels. Gareth often found her on the bathroom floor of the Baroness's quarters, searching repeatedly without success. Her persistence was unwavering. Though he was sure he had checked those places before, she did not give up. In the midst of her search, Gareth reminded Hyacinth that Isabella had translated a paragraph from Italian and needed her review. Isabella, who had surpassed her mother in learning Italian, had become a dedicated translator. Despite Hyacinth's initial reluctance, she always helped her daughter. Isabella, meanwhile, was in her favorite room, a small bathroom decorated with oriental tiles. There, she discovered a crack between 2 tiles she hadn't seen before. Curious, she began to investigate and finally, with the help of a silver comb, managed to open the crack and found a small velvet bag. Inside the bag, Isabella discovered a treasure of diamonds, a necklace and a bracelet. Though she felt overwhelmed by the beauty of the jewels, she heard her mother's voice calling her. With a secret smile, she decided to keep the jewels where she had found them. With her mother asking if she had done her homework and reminding her about her dance classes, Isabella knew she would have to wait for a more suitable moment to reveal her discovery. Meanwhile, the family continued with their lives, always with a touch of adventure and mystery provided by the hidden jewels. And with this, we conclude the summary of It's in His Kiss. I hope you enjoyed this part of the Bridgerton story. Don't forget to subscribe to Literary Journeys with River and activate the bell to receive notifications for upcoming summaries. Leave your comments and share your thoughts on this chapter. See you in the next video to continue with more details of this exciting saga. Until next time.